Ladies and gentlemen, I got called out by Mr. Pokke. But before we go any further, I would like to set a precedent here. It is important to understand that this is not drama. This is a healthy debate, or is going to be a healthy debate between two men who share a passion for a video game that we both know and love. And we are sharing perspectives based off of our own accrued wisdom, experience, and knowledge that we've gained over the course of the game's release. And now we're pitting it against each other based off of what we understand. So regardless of who is right or who is wrong, I encourage this type of debate and disagreement to happen more often, because disagreement and two perspectives on the opposing each other is generally where the sweetest insight and wisdom can be acquired. So with that being said, Mr. Pokke, I got nothing but love and respect for you, brother. I know you. I've done collabs with you in various instances in the past, and this is not being taken personal. I get it. You disagree. That's fine. You can disagree. And I think your disagreement is dog shit, but and I'm willing to have that conversation too. But I do respect you for at least sharing your opinion unapologetically and you know, putting 10 toes down on it. I love that, and I appreciate that more than going behind closed doors and gossiping like a little bitch. Not saying that you did that. I'm just saying I appreciate a man who can stand up and say, look somebody in the eyes and say, no, this is my perspective. This is what I came up with my own thought process. Now we can talk about it, but I'm standing on it until otherwise. Now that that's out the way, what's going on here? What's the context? Well, Pokke seems to think that Ruan Mei is overvalued and overhyped. Pokke seems to think that Ruan Mei is actually niche and that she can only be an enabler for dual DPS compositions. Not my words, his. We'll go over it and react to it. He also seems to think that Bronya is still the best support unit in the game for hyper buff compositions. Which I slightly agree with and slightly disagree with. We'll go over the nuances of that discussion here in a bit as well. But we're gonna react to his video live and go over the thoughts. That way you don't think I'm taking words out of his mouth and twisting them around and all that good jazz. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, Mr. Pokke, let's see what you cooking up over here.
To a very hot topic right now is the discussion of Ruan Mei vs.
First of all, I see he ain't got them black glasses on. That's good, because he was looking like a budget Morpheus.
Bronya. Now, this is by far the biggest topic I want to touch on before everything else, because quite frankly, there has been a lack of understanding with regards to how each support function in different teams, and at worst, spreading misinformation about a specific unit. Now, instead,
that phrase makes me laugh so hard. Spreading misinformation.
Of yapping over here, I've done the honors.
Bro, speaking Japanese, he was 100% directing that at me.
Yesterday, so here's the rough breakdown.
No choice. Ruan Mei's way higher. She's way higher than Bronya. She's way higher than everyone.
That's completely capped. Ruan Mei, she is not the Omega Giga power creep. She's not power creeping the hyper carry team comps. I can say that with absolute confidence right now, hyper carry team comps with Bronya as well as another support unit, they're still gonna be really fucking good.
Nobody's disagreeing that they're not going to be really good. That's the thing. I think they're going to be great. The problem is Ruan Mei is going to be the new best unit on those team compositions. In fact, if you really want to be technical about it, saying she's not going to power creep hyper buff DPS compositions is insane, because at the very bare minimum, you're going to be running Bronya next to a Ruan Mei, which is literally stronger than any other character in the game on that dual DPS, or not on that hyper buff composition. So at the bare minimum, taking aside Bronya versus Ruan Mei and Bronya is absolutely power creeping hyper buff compositions. Now, going into Bronya versus Ruan Mei, we'll get into that in a bit once he shares his thoughts.
She is like the enabler to dual DPS comps.
Correct, absolutely. However, that's not all she does. She's the enabler to dual DPS comps, she's the enabler to break effect comps, and she can still hyper buff the hell out of hyper buff compositions.
She enables dual DPS to actually become competitive, because let's be real,
they're still competitive right now.
The only competitive dual DPS comp is DOT units.
Cap. Again, cap. So here's the thing, Mr. Pokke, you are a dolphin. Free to play plus my ass. Let's put that in the trash. You are a dolphin. Every zero cycle you do generally has everyone's signature light count. And Eidolon 1, Eidolon 2. Your Bronya's E2 with 161 speed, which is absolutely unrelatable to the majority of players in the game. So if you're going to sit here and make that accusation of that dual DPS compositions are competitive, then let's give them the same investment that you give your hyper buff compositions. So Jingyuin and Topaz, both signature light cones. Bare minimum, both signature light cones. And with both signature light cones, easy 0 cycles all day, every day. Okay, if you're gonna do the signature light cone investment with the E1 stuff, Topaz and Blade can also 0 cycle. I've done that. Topaz and Kafka, both signature light cones. Again, this is insane that because here's the thing, you can't do more than a 0 cycle. So saying that they're not competitive is wild. What are you doing a -1 cycle over there? Like, so that's incorrect information right there, saying that dual DPS compositions aren't competitive. And here's the crazy thing. This is before Ruan Mei enters the fray, which she's the only unit in the game with maximum uptime, giving bonuses to both units without sus uptime. Yukon can't do it, it's sus uptime. Bronya can't do it, it's really sus uptime. So that's just cap. I don't know what else to say about that.
That's the only competitive dude. Every other DPS units you have pretty much hyper carry. Okay.
Correct, but you're talking about right now. The whole entire premise of my argument is when Ruan Mei comes out. Anybody can say right now Bronya's the best and that hyper buff comps are the best. No shit. But when she comes out, that is not going to be the case.
Maybe Topaz with like Clara and Himiko, but even that is like really stretching it. Most of the time you just rather run Bronya plus a support plus a hyper carry and you're just gonna pack house, right? You're just clean everything.
That's the final thing I want to take into consideration too. I love how this man has Bronya above Ting Yun when every 0 cycle he's ever done has, you cannot 0 cycle without Ting Yun being on the team. Bronya can only do her thing because Ting Yun is on the team, or Ting Yun and Pella are both on the team. Triple freaking hyper buff carries. Supports. You cannot have Bronya in that tier without Ting Yun, because Ting Yun is the one doing all the heavy lifting until Bronya finally does her 1 turn ass buff.
Jingliu, Sile, Imbibitor Lune, Argenti, Jingyuan, all these units, they are pretty much hyper carry team comps, right? Whether you run Bronya, whether you don't run Bronya, they're all hyper carry team comps. But what Ruan Mei essentially allows you is that now we can actually potentially run.
Bro, what do you mean potentially? Hold on, listen. This is displaying no confidence in theory crafting. A man of your stature should already know there's no potential about no dual DPS with Ruan Mei. It's going to happen. Like, where's this lack of, why you have lack of confidence? Potentially? There's no potential, bro.
Dual DPS and still have a pretty competitive clear speed with hyper carry. Oh, I have Ruan Mei and therefore she's gonna completely replace Bronya because she's better than Bronya every single way.
It's not that she necessarily replaces Bronya. She's just better than Bronya. She has way more potential, enables way more variety while still being able to do Bronya's role on any composition.
That's not true, because in a hyper carry team comp, Bronya will still let your main DPS do more damage solely because of the fact that your Bronya has extra turn mechanic. Yeah, like Gacha Smack is like, oh my god, red penetration is so good, right? It straight up increases your damage output by 10. You know what's better than 36%? Having a whole ass turn. Having a whole ass turn is infinitely better than.
So here's the biggest disagreement I have. A lot of these guys try to gas you up with this whole turn with Bronya. It's an illusion. First of all, this extra turn is an illusion. In fact, we have footage on Mr. Pokke's channel himself where I'm going to show to you why this extra turn isn't as broken as they claim it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these footages. Okay, so this is a 0 cycle that Pokke did with Scylla and only using 2 other characters, Ting Yun and Bronya. I want y'all to pay attention to what Bronya does in the first cycle, which is virtually nothing. She's pretty much an NPC that just generates points. He's like hostage all of her stuff because he has to, because that's how Bronya is. And then when they get to the second cycle is when some of her value or all of her value comes into play. Furthermore, if you just take out Bronya in this scenario, put in a Ruan Mei, you could literally put in another unit like Pella and make Pella a DPS who still debuffs the enemy. Now, he could have done Pella on this too. Obviously, you can put Pella in there, but Pella's even better with Ruan Mei because Pella gets the buffs from Ruan Mei, as well as your DPS. Hell, even Ting Yun could auto attack for 20k with Ruan Mei because she's getting buffed as well. The thing is, the potential for Ruan Mei in this composition is just higher than it is with Bronya. But let's look at this though. So he comes up in here, he's buffing him up, he's running his 3 turn. And by the way, this was a beautiful 0 cycle and a good tribute to Bronya and Scylla because they're best friends. I 100% get it. But look at who's doing all the work here, all right? That's a Ting Yun buff given to to Scylla. Bronya does an auto attack. Bronya does a auto attack. So no buff is on Scylla from Bronya right now, other than her measly ass 10% damage bonus. By the way, Ruan Mei can do the same auto attack and still give this Scylla right here a 70% damage bonus, or 92 or 94 if you have the signature light called. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. So Scylla, and this is a picture perfect scenario for Scylla, by the way. She's to clean up the mobs, take advantage of the extra turn, one shot the unit. Bronya's coming up again. Let's see what Bronya does here. Let's see what she's contributing. Oh, another auto attack, which means Scylla's getting ready to go up again with no buffs. Scylla has no buffs still from Bronya. Bronya has done nothing except be an NPC. So that 38k would have been way higher with Ruan Mei. And these fishes are blowing up, giving you a defensive shred on the monster. He ults, pops her, or pops him. All right, so they're all dead now. And now Scylla's gonna clap the cheeks off this person. Moving on to the next cycle. Here we go. This is very important, right? Because this is now where Bronya's value starts to come into play. But check this out right here. Bronya ults, right? So now there's an attack percent and crit damage boost given to Scylla in comparison to Ruan Mei, who's going to give her a 70% damage bonus plus an all type penetration, which is way stronger than attack and crit damage buff when you have Ting Yun already giving her attack and Scylla herself already having high crit damage threshold. There's a bit of a diminishing return there on this buff, but it's still strong. Whereas with Ruan Mei, way stronger with the all type penetration, especially because Scylla penetrates people already with her kit. She already does a penetration. So remember I told y'all penetration is 100% scaling. So with Ruan Mei on this team, she's already losing to Ruan Mei in value right here. Now, what's he do? Another auto attack. I wonder why. Because he's giving you this extra turn, which is a goddamn illusion. There ain't no extra. You better give her extra turn because all she's doing is being an NPC right now. So another skill point generation. Keep in mind, Ruan Mei can do the exact same thing. Anybody can do the exact same thing. And the value doesn't end here with Ruan Mei. She could, like I told you, you can put a fourth person in that team just to break the shields down faster with Ruan Mei, like Luca. And now you're getting extra value in addition to Scylla doing what Scylla's already doing. Whereas Bronya, you can't do that shit. It's either another buffer or nobody at all. Now you can make the argument that put Pella on his team, and this is like overkill to the extreme, but this is an easy MOC format. So this is not a good example. When you go against a boss like the Swarm Bugs, that's when you start to realize the value of somebody like Ruan Mei versus Bronya. But yeah, reing up Ting Yun. And this is what I'm saying. Brother has Ting Yun below Bronya, like glossing over everything that Ting Yun is doing right here. Motherfucker, Bronya ain't above no Ting Yun. She ain't shit without Ting Yun, actually. All right, so that's a skill. Would have been way more damage with Ruan Mei because she would have had every buff activated, especially if you include her E1, even more stronger. Also, keep in mind the weakness break efficiency. Every little bit of damage you're doing to him with Ruan Mei on the team is much bigger, getting that shield down deeper. And if you break the shield, 10% multiplicative damage given to the party. So again, people gloss over this type of shit. They don't realize the value because it hasn't been put in game yet. So finally, Bronya has done something. Apart from so she ulted, which is a little bit of value, but now she's given the skill damage bonus to Scylla. So Scylla ults, boom. And keep in mind, this man's Bronya is E2 with like 170 speed. That is not the gold standard Bronya that you compare to a E0 Ruan Mei, right? But since she's E2, you can give a Ruan Mei an E1, which means she's ignoring defense. Oh, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Who gives that? She's ignoring defense in addition to everything else she's doing, which is actually just as strong, if not stronger, than all of Bronya's buffs put onto Scylla. So now we're getting into this situation where, again, this favors Scylla because the blow up fish are gonna now blow up on the second unit and give a 60% defensive shred. This is such a beautiful situation for Scylla because you really don't need Pella because the fish are essentially Pella. They just Pella ulted this bitch right now. But here's the thing. In this particular situation with Scylla going again, all of Ruan Mei's buffs are applied right here. All of Ruan Mei's buffs are still applied right here. So Scylla getting ready to go right here in this turn, all Ruan Mei buffs are applied. So She could literally do a skill right here with Ruan Mei. The battle's over with. This man did this for like cool purposes. He wanted Bronya to do like, this is really a beautiful video, by the way. Excellent presentation of a video portraying the friendship of Bronya and Scylla, because he intentionally lets Bronya die right here when he could have just ended the battle right here, just so you could get the effects of, you know, like the glorified effects of their little bond. It's actually pretty damn cool. I'm gonna let it play through. But he auto attacks right there when he could have killed her with a skill and an ult. But with Ruan Mei, he would have skilled, she'd have been dead without even having to ult. The point I'm trying to make here is the extra turn is so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. And not only is it so unnecessary, you don't even need the extra turn with Ruan Mei. The damage that she's given you throughout the entirety of the fight will make up for that extra turn that Bronya is providing. So at the bare minimum, you could say that they're the same level of value, bare minimum. I'm not kidding. That they're the same level of value on a hyper buff composition, which is the only goddamn thing Bronya is good for. That's the only thing that Bronya is good for. So, and again, keep in mind, 170 speed Bronya, E2. So with that in mind, when you take away or you set aside hyper buff composition, what else can Bronya do? Nothing. Can she sustain the way that your Ruan Mei is going to be able to sustain on any team in the game? No, she can't. She delaying the action value of the enemy or increasing the weakness break of them? No, she's not. The only thing she can do is hyper buff. That's it. What's Ruan Mei doing? The same thing she could do, and enabling dual DPS, triple DPS compositions. I guarantee she'll enable that shit too. Enabling break effect compositions. More skill point friendly, so she can even be put on an Imbiber Lune composition, make Imbiber Lune break comp. I already went over all this, but to sit here and try to say she's not triple S tier, you have lost your goddamn mind, brother. With all respect, there's no way on God's green earth you can convince me that's not a triple S tier unit. It's the same concept as like when Silverwolf first dropped. Nobody else could replicate what Silverwolf was doing. She was the only one of her kind to do what she was doing. Therefore, she was in a league of her own. Bronya, at that point, in fact, for the longest, nobody could do what Bronya does, the league of her own. Now we have Ruan Mei. Nobody else is universally applicable the way she is. Anybody who picks up Ruan Mei, W, all she wrote. Bronya, if you have Jing Yuan and Topaz on your team, she can't even apply her turn uptime to them. Absolute booty cheeks. The crit damage bonus, completely useless to a Datka composition. The attack percent, Blade doesn't do anything with that shit. But I will admit, her skill is broken on Blade because it actually counts as the follow-up attack. But there's a number of compositions where Bronya isn't the best fit for the job. There's not a single composition in the game you cannot apply Ruan Mei to, and she won't bring banger ass value. Here's the other thing that's worth considering too. You seem to think that Ruan Mei is not affecting the supports like Lorcha and Fu Xuan. They can actually do work if they had somebody that gave a team-wide damage bonus like Ruan Mei. Pella and Silverwolf, the nihility units that most people just tank up because it's not even worth investing build DPS into them. Because they don't receive any buffs from the team. Ruan Mei can make crit Pella. Ruan Mei can actually make crit Wolf viable. Like all these things she enables that you're glossing over is the reason why she's a triple S tier unit. I mean, I could go on for days with all the things you make. And also, you think like you can't sustain with her. You can 100% sustain with her. She's probably better than Welt at sustaining, if not the same quality as Welt. You put them both together and the unit's never going. You can't do this with Bronya. Like, bro, I can go on for days. But I digress. I want to at least give you a chance to finish what you were saying here in this little piece so that people can at least hear you out. So let's come up here and let's let him finish what he was saying.
You know what's better than 36%? Having a whole ass turn. Having a whole ass turn is infinitely better than having a 36% damage increase.
I already addressed that.
Especially for hyper carry. Not only do you get a straight up double the damage, not almost double the damage because you're...
Yeah, we already showed you there ain't no double the damage. There's no buffs by Bronya until this one little singular moment. And to be fair, that singular moment with Bronya is ridiculous.
You get more energy regeneration, you get the damage buff, you get the crit damage attack buff, you get everything in Bronya, right? So in a hyper carry scenario, Ruan Mei will not win Bronya.
We'll see. We'll see what happens there, big guy. And here's the thing, like I said, bare minimum, same level of quality. I wonder what investment you have on your mind with Bronya in comparison to Ruan Mei. Your E2 has 171 speed. If you're gonna compare that, then I'm taking the E1 signature light calling Ruan Mei, and she's shitting on that Bronya 100%.
She will not. In a duo DPS scenario, that's when Ruan Mei is gonna absolutely blow the fuck out. Because let's be real, Bronya, not that great. You would never run Bronya in a duo DPS, right? Even in the current duo DPS comp, you would never run Bronya. You will probably either run Pella, Asta,
Pella for sure, 100%, because Pella's defensive shredding the entire team, and Ruan Mei is giving everybody a damage bonus, universally applicable to the two DPS you're using. But I also think he's sleeping on the fact that a third person or the support themselves can also DPS themselves, as well as Ruan Mei's break effect is nothing to scoff at when you break the shields. It's like all these little damage factors that are just going over his head.
Or maybe Yukong, if you can let both your DPS gain the buffs, right? So Ruan Mei is essentially power creeping Asta Yukong Pella.
And Bronya.
She's gonna be replacing your Asta Yukong Pella as
and Bronya,
the best dual DPS support. And
you can't gloss over the dual DPS. Like, making that the next meta, if any unit comes in the game and does that, that is a triple S tier unit. What do you, bro? Like, I don't know how nobody can't see this.
Comp, you are
or not nobody, but some people.
And one sustain. So you realistically only have that.
No, you don't need that sustain. Let's go back.
You are already stuck with 2 DPS and 1 sustain.
You don't, the Ruan Mei can sustain. That's what you're not getting. Ruan Mei literally can sustain. Her action value is stronger than Imaginary's action value. I think I'm the only one that knows this type of stuff. Like, bro, I swear. Her action value is absurd. If you break their shield and she delays them, they get delayed equivalent to Imaginary with good break effect on.
So you realistically only have that single slot left to be used for your support unit.
And it's like, if we're gonna talk about meta and sweaty ass, nerdy ass, dorky talk, then you have to include the reality that there's not going to be a sustainer on these comps, because the best efficient runs are not running sustainers like healers, like Lorcha and Fu Xuan. They're not running them. It's all supportive units buffing people.
And that single slot is gonna be Ruan Mei. She is not a direct upgrade to
See,
Bronya.
he's sleeping on what Ruan Mei can do because he doesn't realize that you can actually just do Ruan Mei 2 DPSs, and then the support can also pop off as a DPS while still doing the supportive role. Or maybe throw in an Arlon in that bad boy, a 3rd DPS. Like I said, it's possible because of how strong her team-wide buff is.
As S tier that everybody is like, oh my god, she's absolutely insane. She is what makes dual DPS
crazy that he doesn't believe that.
You could use Ruan Mei with Bronya, with your sustain, and then you throw in the hyper carry. And that's the possible team comp. Hyper carry, Ruan Mei, Bronya, and sustain. But is she better than Bronya? I disagree when it comes to hyper carry.
Nah, so you can't. Nah, brother. You don't get to say when it comes to hyper carry, because that's ridiculous. you can't just throw that in there at the when it comes to hyper carry. Nah, bro, because you said she's overhyped. You're right. If she's overhyped, then you have to apply the whole scenario. If she's overhyped, you can't just say when it comes to hyper carry. But even then, when it comes to hyper carry, she at the bare minimum does her job plus all the other things I just mentioned. I rest my case, man. Those are my thoughts. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Comment down below. I'd love to hear it. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.